Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. If you'd like to see more information about this podcast, or if you'd like to see more of my free resources, just go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com. But for now, I really hope that you enjoy this podcast, and if you do, then I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe on iTunes and leave a positive review so that more people can have the chance to listen to this great work. Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. In my many hours of reading letters written by Seneca, I've come to appreciate his many marvelous rants. When it comes to long, detailed, and passionate rants about people, not many come close to those written by Seneca. One of my all-time favorite passages by Seneca is one where he exposes the downfalls of fake students. So in this podcast, I'd like to read to you this passage by Seneca, and then encourage you to ask some hard questions about the kind of student that you are. But before I do, some of you might be thinking, well, I'm not a student, or, I left university years ago. Well, I'd like to remind you that it is one of the core values of Stoicism that we must always be in a constant search for knowledge and wisdom. The end of schooling does not mean the end of learning. If you're listening to this podcast, for example, you're a student. If you're reading books, you're a student. If you really pay attention to the happenings of your world, you can be a student. This is why I like to call myself a student of life, because I believe that life is always teaching us amazing lessons available only if we will become serious students. So moving on, Seneca starts his rant by talking about the people who visit philosophers and teachers as a sort of pastime, not for any real educational or spiritual benefit. He writes the following. And before I read this, I'll ask you to stick with me here because it's quite a long passage, but it has a really good message. Quote, "Some come not to learn, but just to hear him, in the same way as we are drawn to the theatre for the sake of entertainment, to treat our ears to a play or music or an address. You'll find that a large proportion of the philosopher's audience is made up of this element, which regards his lecture hall as a place of lodging for periods of leisure. They are not concerned to rid themselves of any faults there, or acquire any rule of life by which to test their characters, but simply to enjoy to the fullest the pleasures the ear has to offer. Admittedly, some of them actually come with notebooks, but with a view to recording not the content of the lecture, but the words from it, to be passed on to others with the same lack of profit to the hearer as they themselves derived from hearing them. Some of them are stirred by the noble sentiments they hear, their faces and spirits light up, and they enter into the emotions of the speaker, going into a transport just like the eunuch priests who work themselves into a frenzy to order at the sound of a Phrygian flute. They are captivated and aroused not by a din of empty words, but by the splendor of the actual content of the speaker's words. Any expression of bold or spirited defiance of death or fortune making you keen to translate what you've heard into action straight away. They are deeply affected by the words and become the persons they are told to be, or would if the impression on their minds were to last, if this magnificent enthusiasm were not immediately intercepted by that discourager of noble conduct, the crowd. Very few succeed in getting home in the same frame of mind. It is easy enough to arouse in a listener a desire for what is honourable, for in every one of us nature has laid the foundations or sowed the seeds of the virtues." End quote. When I look back at my time in university studying music, I can definitely relate to what Seneca is saying in his rant. I think of my time in class, and I can see that many times I was there for mere entertainment, or for the wilting away of my time. If I had known what I know now, I would have taken those classes far more seriously. We all know people like that. Those men and women who parade themselves as serious students when they are in fact a mere audience member. These people cannot expect to derive any lasting change or benefit out of the books they read, the teachers they listen to, or the lectures they attend, for they are not real students, and their only aim is to create an illusion of being learned. Think about the time that you spent learning in your life. and try to question whether you have been a serious or a fake student. Can you relate to any of the characteristics or actions that Seneca describes? I would encourage you to start, if you haven't already, to take your own self-education very seriously. Mediocrity aims itself at the lives of those people who cannot commit to serious study and inner change. Anyone who wishes to rise to the good life must first become disciplined in the art of being a good student. And, as we can learn from Seneca's passage, it is not simply enough to attend lectures or read books. A serious student must be consistent in his efforts to attend to learning, and he should take noble teachings and immediately apply them into his life. Without the ability to become what we learn about, or to rid ourselves of unfavorable characteristics in light of new teachings, we can only ever hope to stay the same, never taking anything of value from what we read, listen to, or watch. Seneca also places a high importance on our need to carry the same excitement that we feel while learning into our day-to-day life. Too often we are stirred to great passion while we read or listen to great teachers, only to find that this passion soon subsides. This is similar to the way that skin always returns to its original tone a few weeks after the body has received a tan. See, the only way to keep a tan is to constantly expose one's body to the sun, and so it is with learning. We must return often to the authors, philosophers, and teachers who left the greatest impression on us. The way to remain relevant in our dedication to philosophy and learning is to be consistent in our approach. So whenever you're endeavoring to learn or grow, it would be my suggestion that you look deeply into your efforts and honestly question if you are being a serious student, a student worthy of the results that you wish to see. Are you learning for mere entertainment, or are you learning to become a better person? Is it the approval of the crowd that you're after, or is it the approval of yourself? Those who appear to be learning may achieve the former, but those who actually do learn and grow will approve of their own efforts, and that is what we like to call true peace of mind. To finish up, I'd like to leave you with another quote and a challenge. This quote is from Mark Twain, and he said, "I have never let my schooling interfere with my education." Your schooling days may be long behind you, but your learning days are still here. I'd like to encourage you to continue learning and pursuing new information that can change your life. The Stoics teach that we are never too young or too old to learn new things. Never stop growing, never stop getting better. Never stop learning, and never stop searching for lessons to be learned through the events in your life. In my view, to stop growing would be just as sad as death itself. To stop striving, to stop trying, to stop learning would be a spiritual death. I think that it was Eric Thomas who pointed out in one of his seminars that the vast majority of people update their phones far more often than they update themselves. Don't be that person. You're better than that. And you deserve better from yourself. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that it's been valuable to you. And if you'd like any more information, or if you'd like to see the show notes, you can head to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook, you can find me at Daily Stoic Quotes, or just my name, Simon Drew. On my Daily Stoic Quotes page, as the name suggests, I post an amazing Stoic quote every single day. So like that if you want to be inspired daily by the great Stoic philosophers. Also, if you have any feedback or if you'd just like to get in contact with me, please don't hesitate to message me on Facebook, or you can go and send me an email at my website. Again, that's risetothegoodlife.com. Until next time, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I really hope that it's valuable to you, and I really hope that it helps you to live a better life. If it has been valuable to you, please don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and leave a positive review. If you'd like to see more free resources, just go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com.